Yes, the bus is back on the road this fine Tuesday night. A little bit of Tic Talking, don't mind if I do. And as you can see, tonight I'm joined by the other wise man of the bus, Johnny. How you doing, mate? I believe you're just fresh off a plane not too long ago as well. What a trooper turning up here tonight, mate. You just no rest for you at all, mate.
No, yeah. I don't know about the other wise man of the bus comment, but I appreciate it all the same. But yeah, just got back from one of my trips today. Got back from Johannesburg this morning. So home, go to bed for a few hours, then got up. Then you sent a message asking if I would be able to jump on. I thought, yeah, why not? I'm not doing anything else like so.
What a trooper! What
Give
a
it a jump on. See if I can stay awake through it, like, you know.
I'll keep you entertained, mate. I'll keep you going. So I'll prompt you if you fall asleep at any point. No doubt about it.
Give me a nudge, yeah.
I will do it, mate.
You can sound the klaxon. That'll wake me up.
You know, on the old channel, I used to have a klaxon sound effect that I could set off, but I've no moved on to this channel. I should really do that. That would definitely scare people. But before we go any further, I need to double check something with people in the live chat. Is our audio coming through okay? Because I was catching our Terry on Celtic World Order in the last hour, and they were having some audio problems. I don't know if it's a StreamYard problem or if it's a channel specific problem. So if somebody in the chat could just verify that we sound okay, that would be magic. That would get a bit of weight off my shoulders right now, because I was kind of worried that we were going to come through with, like, the audio going a little bit. And I'll take that as an okay then. Okay? Good stuff. David Scullion saying audio's good. Great, good stuff. So it's not a StreamYard problem. I was worried it was some kind of universal issue. But anyway, it's not. So we're all good. So we can TikTok tonight, no problem at all. There'll be no audio issues, hopefully. But of course, before we go any further, you know what to do, folks. We may be on tonight, instead of the usual Friday, but you can still do all that good stuff and still in the early stages of this channel. Help us out massively. Help us out in the old algorithms. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. Our subscribers keep creeping up after every video, and we're thankful for every single one of you that have done so. Hit the old bell notification as well to, of course, be reminded when we head on the road. Of course, when the season does kick off, we will ramp up to a pretty regular, I think, at least 3 shows a week type of schedule. I think there'll be more than enough content by then to talk about. Who's in our live chat tonight this fine Tuesday evening? Let's have a wee look. We've got Ian McIntosh is in, David Scullion is in, Jim C, John Boy 67 Graham, David Logue is in. Who's he, Johnny? David Logue? Same second name as you? Yeah, sounds familiar. Not seen his face on here for a while. David, you need to get on here, mate. You need to get back on, man. Need you on a Tuesday night. Who else have we got?
You'll have to get his new customer on as well.
Oh yes, he will have to get his new customer on as well. Keep that one. We'll keep that one quiet. Somebody of a Celtic connection walked into his shop today, so I was like, "Get him on the bus. Get him on right now." Timmy Bing is here as well. Who else? I think I've given everyone a shout out that has left a comment. That was there, Stephen Murdoch as well, and Ali and Christy. So yeah, I think I've covered everybody so far. So yes. Come in, take your usual seats, grab your tickets, all that jazz, all that good stuff. And of course, the final thing you can do, never share the link of the new channel far and wide on whatever social media platform is your poison. And with all that said and done, Johnny, let's do a bit of TikTok and let's talk about the current ongoing transfer rumours, because we're still in silly season, mate. It is definitely silly. That's definitely the word I think we would all use, because let's lead with the main story that I've put on the thumbnail tonight. I'm even wearing his shirt from that era, the exact same shirt that he's wearing in the thumbnail. But what would the Celtic transfer window be, Johnny, without an Odsonne Edouard link? Because for the 3rd summer in a row since Brendan Rodgers has came back, Odsonne Edouard's name is doing the rounds again. So I thought, you know what? Let's just entertain this story again. We've talked about it before. Every time it comes up, I know that me and David Logue and Regan and whatnot, we've all shared our opinions. But anyway, in case you missed it, here is yesterday's story from Twitter. Sebastian Vidal, who is a French football journalist, he does have over 15,000 followers. He isn't some fake account that's popped up in the last couple of days. He said Crystal Palace have put Odsonne Edouard on the market this summer. Celtic are monitoring the situation, because of course we're monitoring the situation. We always monitor, we always close in, we always scout, we always keep tabs on, but we never actually bid. It always feels like. But anyway, Celtic are monitoring the situation closely. Brendan Rodgers considering a return for the 27-year-old striker. He once launched in Glasgow. Interesting, because I see this is the 3rd summer in a row that Odsonne Edouard has been linked with. Since Brendan's came back, it feels like it's gone hand in hand when Odsonne Edouard returned. Probably because, let's be honest, Odsonne Edouard's career has definitely not went in the direction I think many of us thought it would go, probably the player himself as well. When he got his move down to England, I thought Crystal Palace would be a decent fix. At the time, I believe Patrick Vieira was their manager. You're like, well, Odsonne Edouard, young French footballer. Patrick Vieira, legendary French footballer, World Cup winner. He's done it all in the game, so surely that's the type of guy that's going to get the best out of him, but it's just not really ever taken off. And the first thing that really stood out to me about that link that threw me off, was it said Crystal Palace put him on the market, but this time last year when he was linked, the stories where he was going into the last year of his contract. So somewhere along the line, there has been some fake news put out there that he wasn't going into the last year of his contract, or somewhere Crystal Palace have decided to extend him by another year, maybe to try and get a transfer fee from him. What exactly would they want for him? But Johnny, initial thoughts. Odsonne Edouard, first of all, one, would you be up for him coming back? And do you think he would come back?
I don't know. I mean, I've been on record before saying that not a big fan of second time arounds. We've had a few second time arounds of late. Two of them, which you'd have to say were actually no-brainers, with Tierney, for example, and Jota. Although obviously, unfortunately, Jota's return has been sort of curtailed somewhat, shall we say. But they were two no-brainers. Edouard, that's not quite such a no-brainer. I mean, I loved Edouard when he was here, and I mean, David's even got a French Eddie at home.
He does. Dog after,
yep. After Eddie, before he jumped ship down to Crystal Palace. But I can't see this one happening for a few reasons. It's not been happening for the best part of 3 years. He never really, after an initial really good start at Palace, he never really kicked on. And you could say that might be something to do with maybe the team that he was with, Crystal Palace, sort of up until this year when they won the Cup, perennial sort of Premier League strugglers and mid-table to bottom section of the French standards. And then, but I think it was Ian McIntosh put it quite succinctly up there. Slow news day.
Just a bit.
So, but would I take a player like Edouard? Would I want one like him? You know, with that, I always thought he was. He had ice water running through his veins, like, you know, and he was coolness personified. You know, he was just. He could, you know, on his day, when he turned up on his day, he was unplayable.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what Ian's saying. If Kieran catches best form, would you want him? Yeah, I think we would do. It's not going to happen because he's on I was reading earlier on, he's on 70 grand a week.
Yeah.
So he'd have to be willing to do a KT and take such a drastic drop in money. And I don't think he's got that sort of passion, love for the club that Tierney had. But I think what we could use Odsonne Edouard for at the moment is he's another example of a player who's left Celtic and it's not quite kicked on the way it has. I know there's been one or two successes. Obviously, Virgil van Dijk going to Southampton, then on Liverpool, and what he's done there. But the vast majority of them, the careers haven't taken on the trajectory that they might have thought they would do. With, I mean, I know when Yama went to Southampton and did move on to Spurs, but again, didn't quite work out the way he done. So, good example to show some of it. Kyogo's the most recent example, of course. I mean, if you said to me this time last year that Kyogo would be playing at Birmingham at the start of
after making a brief pit stop in France as well, where he didn't do much.
Yeah, you just thought, and I know Birmingham have got a lot of money behind them at the moment, and they're spending a lot of money. You know, so they've got ambitions, and it's an ambitious move to go for the likes of Kyogo. Hasn't worked out in France for him. We'll wait to see what happens in England for him. I can't decide whether I would want Edouard back. Is it just another step too many backwards, if you like? But I think the money, the finances put it out of reach anyway, because I don't think Edouard would be willing to He'll have to take a cut, I've no doubt, wherever he goes.
How much do you love Celtic, Odsonne? Come on, how much do you really love us? Come on, son, show us. I am. When it comes to Edouard, I mean, I've been quite consistent every time his name has come up, and God Almighty, his name has come up a lot in the last few years. As I said, this is the third summer in a row since Brendan Rodgers has came back. He's been linked with us every single summer, so here we are again. But yeah, as a player, unbelievable. What a talent he was, and he still can be, because he's clearly got it in him. But obviously, things have went skew with since leaving. If he came back to Celtic and if he found his form that we saw in 2019 and going into 2020, I mean, that season it got curtailed because of COVID in March 2020. His numbers were obscene that season. Up to that point, he was absolutely smashing it. Him and Lee Griffiths up front together were absolutely doing all sorts of damage. So he's got it in him. So no doubt about it, he can be in it. If he did come back and did find his form, he could possibly just instantly become the best player in the squad. Is he better than Adamida? I would say he is on his day. I think he is at all. But the problem is he's barely played a lick of football for the last year. So how long would it take him to get back up to fitness? I believe on his loan move to Leicester, I think he played the equivalent of about 8 games.
8 games, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, 8. Because if he was to come in, the difference with this to the Kieran Tierney one is Kieran Tierney was obviously stifled by injury. That's what happened to him at Arsenal. But it always felt like no matter when he did get a game for Arsenal, his levels never dropped. Arsenal fans, you will never find saying bad things about Kieran Tierney. They always said what a great player he was. Every time he would play, they loved him and they were gutted to lose him. But again, it was just a case of injuries. He just fell down the pecking order. And obviously his manager just clearly made his mind up that he didn't fancy keeping him. Odsonne Edouard, if you ask a Crystal Palace fan what their thoughts are on Odsonne Edouard, if they would be gutted to lose him, they'd probably just be like, who? They've probably forgotten who he is because he fell off that much. And I say, if we were to somehow pull it off and bring him back in some capacity, how many weeks does he need before he gets back up to his best? And time is not of the essence right now, Johnny, because as we keep getting reminded, there is a rather big Champions League qualifier around the corner. So yes, while I totally agree that Edouard would be phenomenal if we could get the Odsonne Edouard of a few years ago and we could get him up to speed really quickly. So I have no doubt he could become the best player on the team quite easily. I don't see it happening. And that's just one of these things. And no doubt, actually, even if he moves somewhere this summer, he goes somewhere, if Brendan Rodgers is still our manager this time next year, Odsonne Edouard will get linked to us again. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But yeah, I just think with the time constraints right now, he would need to come in and hit the ground running, and because we can't, bleed him in and wait till maybe October, November before he really starts motoring. You're really hoping you can get the best out of him now. Maybe Brendan Rodgers could, because Brendan obviously liked working with him. But I don't see it happening, Johnny, overall, as much as I kind of would like it to happen. But yeah, I think there's too many variables that wouldn't make it a good move for us or the player, to be fair.
Also, the other thing you're saying there, Phil, is the sort of time frame now, 2 weeks until the start of the season, and it's very close to the Champions League qualifying game. And how many times have we said throughout this season that just passed, and I said it the other week there, if I've got to listen to somebody on whether it be our podcast, chats, or any other podcast about, but if only they'd been there and had a full pre-season, such as, Engels and Ida, it'd be such, would there be different players now? Edouard's starting cold. These two guys were playing football. Ida for us at the end of the previous season when he was on loan, Engels,
Augsburg in Germany.
So they were playing football. They might not have had the pre-season training at Celtic that we feel they should have had if we'd got our fingers out our arse and got them signed in time. And we kept coming back to they only had a full pre-season. Well, Edouard's not up to speed.
No.
Not going to have had a full pre-season.
No.
And I don't know if it would be doing any favours to him or us, to be fair, if we got him back.
No, definitely not. It's,
there is no doubt the guy's ability, but for whatever reason, it's just not worked out in the last 4 years. Or maybe he's just not. Like quite a lot of our players, if we have to be honest, when they go down to that English Premiership, and up that level, They're maybe just not quite as good as we like to think they are. And we're never going to know on that front with Edouard, because I don't think he'll even get a Premiership team down in England. I've done my doubts.
Yeah, I think right now, last season we went on loan to Leicester, who ended up just being relegation fodder. So yeah, I don't know where he would end up now. But I think a similar case could be made for Moussa Dembele, in the sense that I thought when Moussa Dembele was with us and when he left, I was like, this guy is going to go on to be one of the best. I could see him by the end of his career. He'll have won either a World Cup or a Euros with France, a Champions League with a top team. I just had this in my head that Moussa Dembele will go straight to the top, and here we are. What? How many years after he left? It was 7 years now, 8 years after he left, and
as long as that, really.
2018. So it's 7
years.
It was summer of 2018, and yeah, he's playing in Saudi Arabia, not even for one of the best teams in the Saudi league. It's like a El Ettifaq or something like that. Steven Gerrard was their manager, but they're like not even like, there's like 4 teams in Saudi that are like the top ones, who funny enough I think are all owned by the same people. Conflict of interest much, but anyway, but they're one of the ones that aren't.
I've got to agree with David's comment there on the screen. I was just going to say, actually, of all the other players in that position that we've been linked with, I'd probably take Edouard back before any of them, because purely on the grounds that I don't know, I don't have a clue who they are, if I'm being honest. You know, is it what's his name? The Italian
Yamada. They've got the Ambrosino or something like that. Yeah, something like that.
We'll probably end up at Cremonese anyway. So.
Yeah, that's one.
So I think
the Napoli player he was on loan, and
of the other players we've been linked with, I don't, imagine they'd be first team starters. But whoever we have, whether it be Edouard, if he was to come back, or one of the unknowns, they've got to hit the ground running, or Ida has got to hit the ground running.
Yeah. What do you make of his comments?
He should be thinking. He's the man in position. He's the man in place. The only threat to his position there is Dyson Maeda.
Yep.
Because we know he wants to play through the middle. I think he said he wants the chance to play through the middle for the World Cup for Japan next year, and he reckons his best chance of that is playing through the middle for Celtic.
Yep.
And then hopefully replicating what he done since Kyogo left.
No doubt about it. It was a success last season, putting Maeda through the middle. He was giving us a lot in that second half. It kind of burnt out maybe the last few weeks.
Yeah.
He missed a couple of guilty chances in the cup final and then the game at Ibrox, but you can't really fault the numbers he put up last season. He was phenomenal. Did you see Adabida's comments this week in an interview? He says he's aiming to try and get 30 goals this season. I mean, I hope he does. I really do. And good if he backs himself. But as you say, he has to hit the ground running. He's season his goal record, even though 20 plus goals, I think, in all
22.
competitions. Yeah, but it was always in spots, wasn't it? It was like a couple of games, 2, 3, 4 games, he'd get a goal, then he would go like 5 or 6 games without. Then it would be so. It's like he's just got to hit the ground running. And again, I think he's a confidence player. I think if we were to start the season, him playing through the middle, say he bags a brace on the opening day against St Mirren, hopefully that'll kick him on from there. But he's setting his sights high, talking about he wants to, he thinks he's got it in him to get 30 goals this season. The more minutes he plays, he's quite confident he can do it. So go and prove it.
Well, I think he would be as well if he gets the game time. When you look at the game time he had last season, and he scored 22 goals, like you said, they were in fits and spurts, and did they necessarily were they sort of the match-defining goals that they had been in, for example, the cup final last year when he scored the last-minute winner. The goals even on his debut at Easter Road, they were massive goals for Celtic at that time. I know. But you might say, it was a league game against Hibs, one was a penalty. But, he had to have, some size of balls to take those penalties, but I think 2 of them were penalties, weren't they?
Yeah, and we're terrible at penalties. Let's be honest, we're drab at penalties.
But, they were massive goals for us at that time in the season. Absolutely massive goals for us. And he had the bollocks to do it and the courage to take them on his... Because let's face it, if that'd gone the other way, and he'd missed it, he'd have been buried outside. That would have been finished before he started.
Yeah, definitely. We wouldn't be calling for him to sign all last summer because the first that loan he had was the goals at Motherwell, the winner at Hibs, and the equaliser at, well, what turned out to be the draw at Rangers. We took the lead and they equalised. That point ended up being crucial in the end. And of course, the cup final winning goal. I mean, to be fair, if he didn't come back to Celtic there, he'd already achieved hero status. But I say he's here now, and so he's had a. When you look at the numbers, you can't really argue in terms of 20 plus goals. But yeah, we'll see if he can do it. But again, it's all about keeping his place in the team. He needs to make sure Brendan Rodgers doesn't have a reason to drop him and decide to play Maeda through the middle, or as it looks like, Shin Yamada will be coming in at some point this month. I think he's on international duty with Japan just now. So we're expecting him to come in. What will he bring to the table? We'll wait and see. Now, another comment that's came up as well, that's on a wee bit of a tangent, but linked to the first player we're talking about. Irishman in Portal 2002 said, Brendan loves Eddie, so if he was to sign him, could that be an indication that Brendan himself will extend? And of course, that is the big elephant in the room that keeps on coming round. Now, Brendan Rodgers did give a very, very brief mention the other day to the media that him and Dermot Desmond have touched base regarding contract, but right now he's got more important things to worry about, as in building up the squad ready for the season. I think Brendan Rodgers will sign a contract extension. Just, I don't know anything. I'm not trying to say that I'm ITK or anything. I'm just going on an incline. I think he will sign an extension. I think it'll be after the window is closed. I think once we're into the season, maybe about September time. But I think it'll be one of those 1 year rolling contract things, because we usually do that with all our managers, Johnny. Brendan Rodgers coming back was an oddity. We gave him a 3-year deal outright, which was, I say, a bit of a break from tradition. But I think he will sign an extension and it will go back to that 1 year rolling contract thing, which isn't a bad thing. A lot of people have a misconception of what a 1 year rolling contract actually is, but at least it'll tie him, at least it'll give us some kind of assurances that he's keen on staying and continuing on, because I think a lot of people are quite right to be concerned. They're looking at the way the transfer activity is just now. The board's not really pushing things out because they don't know if the manager's going to be here. Is the manager quite happy with everything that's going on? The only person that's given us any sort of contact right now to the press is the manager. We're not hearing from the people above him of what's going on. So all we can do is go on the clues he's given us and what he's saying. But just personally speaking, I think he will sign an extension, but I do think it'll be a 1 year rolling contract, which I say isn't a bad thing, Johnny.
Yeah, to respond to Irishman in Porto there, I think the indication that he might be signing a new contract might not necessarily be because he loves Eddie, and if Eddie was to sign, I think what was Kieran Tierney told when he come back?
That's a fair point. People have said that about the Tierney return as well.
Yeah. You know, did Tierney come back? Well, we know he came back because of his love for the club, and he was, you know, he's not a flash kind of individual. He's made his money. He's still making good money. He come back to Celtic for the reason that we've said there, but I think he was still wanting to know what the scenario was likely to be regarding next season. Who's going to be the manager, regardless of whether he's become the main man at Celtic, and as far as stature goes, you'd want to know what the next 2 or 3 years are likely to hold, because there's no guarantees in any football club of anybody staying any length of time and being here next year and whatnot. So I think that might be more of or just as much of an indication to what Irishman in Porto has just put down there regarding Eddie. I think Tierney's the more likely one, because he's the one who carries more weight, if you like.
Yeah.
As far as his stature and status at the club.
Well, think it this way, Johnny. I think in Kieran Tierney's mind, he's here now to the end of his career. I think, I know you're saying, but you don't know what you can predict for the next couple of years. But I think in Tierney's mind, he'll be like, I've went down to England, I've done my bit. You know, he's won that trophy down there, whatever. He's done as much as he can, really. Could he have stayed down with another team? Maybe. But he's came back here, and I think in his mind, he'll be like, that's me now. I'm 35, 36 years old. So he will have an eye on that. And yeah, I think he'll want to know, you know, is it going to be Brendan next season? Are we going to have Sean Maloney turn up as a manager next year? Because obviously a lot of people are thinking about that. or John Kennedy. Maybe John Kennedy will remain as assistant to Sean Maloney or Scott Brown. But yeah, I think the point you're making is very valid there, because yes, Kieran Tierney is a good indicator. And I would be shocked if Kieran Tierney isn't thinking, I'll come back up to Celtic for a couple of years and then I'll move back down to England again. It's like, no, I think Kieran Tierney's very much like, that's me now through to the end of my career.
I think so. I don't think Tierney's. I think he thinks himself. He's had his spell down there. He's enjoyed it, and he's done all right. He's been successful. He won a FA Cup. He's made his money. Now he's back where he feels he belongs. And I think he's a bit of a home bird, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I definitely think he's there, but for the long haul now, just I think he wants the captaincy win. Because I think McGregor's obviously going to retire before Tierney. I think Tierney's ambition will be to be the captain, the permanent captain at some stage before he hangs his boots up. And he's only 28, so he's still got another 7 years out of him. We could get it all being well.
Definitely. I thought it when he was announced he was coming back. I was like, yeah, he will be the next club captain when Calmac hangs up, because Calmac's 32 now, I think. And yes, he's Tierney's 27, 28. So yeah, he's got a couple of years there on Calmac. So he definitely will have the armband. Now, I don't know if you've seen this, Johnny, in the last couple of days, and I know you're a man that likes to about a jet set life that you have. Have you ever done the pilgrimage to the Estadio Nacional in Lisbon?
I have.
Because the Celtic players did it as well in the last couple of days, and me and the wise man were talking about it on Friday night, and I says, Liam, with a background in marketing, do you not think Sporting Lisbon missed a trick by not asking the Portuguese FA, can we maybe use the Estadio Nacional for this friendly against Celtic? But Celtic still went and obviously visited the site. They put up their videos on YouTube today. Of course, it was only a 2-3 minute clip or whatever. Watch the rest of it on Celtic TV for a nominal fee a month, everybody. But yeah, I did catch it, and I've never done the pilgrimage, so I'm glad that you've done it, because I was wanting to ask. I know the answer already when I ask it, but what was it like, Johnny? What was it like, mate?
It's very, very hard to describe. It's as you say, you used the word pilgrimage. It's very strange. I managed to do it because of work, because the way it works for us, we can put bids in to fly to certain destinations, and I actually put a bid in for Lisbon, and I got it. We arrived in Lisbon quite late on at night. We were leaving to come back to Heathrow, I think about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I was up early, got the Celtic top on, my Lisbon one on that I wear when I'm on here, and all I've done is I walked into the reception, and the guy at the reception just looked at me and he's pointed at me. He said, Celtic Stadium. I went, yeah, how did I get there? He said, get your taxi. So gets this taxi driver, he takes me up. And it's really weird, because when you pull up outside, you look and you think, oh, where's the stadium? Because you can't actually see it from where they pull up at the entrance. And I said to the taxi, I said, where's the stadium like? And he said, oh, you cross the road and you go up this little road, like a service road. So I walked up there, and there's a little guy. You've got some buildings on your left-hand side, which it turns out are the actual dressing rooms, and then the buildings on the right-hand side, which are like some offices and whatnot. And this guy come out and he says, do you want to see the stadium? I said, yeah. He gets his radio out to one of his colleagues. He said, we've got a Celtic supporter here. Going to send him up so you can show him around the stadium. So you're not paying any money to get in. You just turn up at the gate and you walk in. And he said, just follow that path. So you're walking up this path and there's flowers and whatnot. And then the next thing, you just see this bowl of a stadium opens up in front of you. And it's one of the guys who works there come up to me and he showed me around the stadium, points out all the things. And, it's the knowledge these guys have of Celtic, and particularly, obviously, the Lisbon Lions. They talk about the likes of Steve Chalmers and Tommy Gemmell and Bobby Murdoch, and Jimmy Johnston, Billy McNeil. They take you up everywhere, and I got to go everywhere except for in the stadium, because there was actually a game getting played there that night.
Okay, right.
Some cup final, because they still use it for cup finals.
They do. The Portuguese FA still use it for international games and the cup finals.
Yeah, so you get to go up, you get to wander about wherever you want to go, and you get to go up and you get to stand in the spot where Billy held the trophy aloft, and you can just picture you can look out and you just picture all the fans in your mind's eye. You can picture all the fans on the pitch and on the terracing. You get to walk up. I've seen the video clip where you see all the players running up the tunnel.
Yeah.
Come out, so you get to, and that is an awesome experience. Even with nobody in the stadium and nobody else there. And I got the guy, he stood up on the pitch side and he videoed me walking up the steps to come out onto the stadium. And it's just, it's awesome. And I think the judge has been as well.
Yep.
And you know, and sometimes you'll get as many as 40 or 50 people turning up, like myself, either individually or in groups. And even on the bus, once we got back to the hotel and we're heading back to the airport on the crew transport, I've seen a couple of Celtic supporters making their way up, and I thought, no, where they're going, like, you know. But it's brilliant. But they keep talking about there's going to be some sort of
renovation,
some renovations going on it. So, well, I would say to anybody, if you want to see it almost exactly as it was, because the only thing they've changed on it from when Celtic won to now is they've moved the dugouts onto the opposite side of the pitch.
Yeah.
So if you want to see it almost exactly as it was that day in Lisbon in '67, get it done in the next 12 months. But you will not regret, even if you just, because Portugal, I mean, you could do a 3 or 4 day trip quite easily and have a good time. And Lisbon looks a very nice city, actually. I'd quite fancy going back just to have a visit to Lisbon itself. I'd obviously go back to the stadium again if I was ever there. But,
of course.
Yeah, definitely a very almost emotional, and especially now that we're losing so many of them, we've only got 3 of them left. So it's if you've got any plans and you've got a few quid spare, jump on a plane from wherever you happen to live, get yourself out there. You will not regret it. You'll regret not going rather than regret going.
Yeah, so it's definitely something I've always
wanted. Get it done, Phil. Get it done.
Yeah.
You can't have your own podcast and not have been to Lisbon, mate.
I know, man. I know. I say it's always something I keep seeing and going, oh, I wish I could do it. And I saw the content they put up today, and again, you know, it's tugging on the old heartstrings. You're like, oh God, you know, really would love to see that.
Just alley there, that picture he's talking about there. I was at Bruce Springsteen at Murrayfield a couple of years ago, and as we were coming out this Murrayfield, there was a guy walking in front of me, and he had that tattoo, that picture tattooed on the back of his leg, and it was it was a stunning piece of work. And I thought, and I've always fancied getting that one myself, like, but I've never got around to doing it. But yeah, brilliant picture, make a brilliant tattoo.
Amazing picture. Just again, all the stories that you hear about it, like the trading of the shirt. It was the Joe McBride was sent along, I think it was, to knock on the Inter Milan door to swap shirts, and Hilario Herrera was bollocking the Inter team apparently behind the door, and then he answered it, and then it was like he was there with like a shirt, and it was like, you know, shirt swap, and they basically did one shirt swap. I think it was Joe McBride that was sent to do that. And of course, the story is they all got back to the dressing room, and then they're all like, "Who's got the cup? Nobody's got the cup." They never even went. So Billy had to go back and do it himself. So just
what we really need to do, Phil, and I've said it to you before when you were doing I think when we were doing one of your nostalgia shows. We need somebody who watches the pod who was in Lisbon the day we won it to come on the pod and tell us all the stories about being there on the day, because that would be sensational.
The guy, there's
anybody out there. And
some of the footage that you've seen, there's a guy as well, like the centre circle, like a lump of the centre circle or something like that, showing it to the camera. It's like somebody somewhere in Glasgow had a piece of turf from the pitch on the mantelpiece for God knows how many years. Like, God, the stories, unbelievable. What a story it is, man. Honestly, I'd love to do the pilgrimage, and I do think that they missed a trick. I thought Sporting Lisbon, you know, they should have investigated that one, but either way, they didn't do it. And Celtic do play Sporting tomorrow night in the Algarve down in Faro, I believe it's pronounced, whatever it is. But yeah, they're down there in the south. But there will be fans for that one. There was no fans for the game at the weekend. And the game they played at Benfica's training ground. And I know they lost that game, but my mentality with friendlies has been pretty much the same since, I want to say, 2006. I remember Gordon Strachan said this quote, and ever since then I've always had the same approach to friendlies. So in 2006, we played Man United at Celtic Park in a friendly, and Man U brought pretty much a youth team, and the only senior player that played was Paul Scholes. And everybody else was like a young John O'Shea and whatnot, all these like guys who would go on and have a decent career. But at that time, all 17, 18, and they scudded us 3-0. They battered us, right? And the next day, the Scottish news were Celtic in turmoil. It wasn't far off them posting a picture in their newspaper of the crest with a big crack down it. It wasn't a million miles off that. And Gordon Strachan said Celtic are the only team in the world that can be in crisis in pre-season. And then that season, we went on to win the League and Scottish Cup double. And I'm like, pre-season friendlies, it doesn't matter. It's just about getting fitness in the legs. But yeah, the over-the-top reaction from the media after losing 3-0 to Man United in that game. And yeah, as I say, we just we won a double that season. So to me, we get beat by a team there in a training ground game, from the Portuguese Primeira Liga. Whatever, it's just about getting minutes in the legs.
Slightly different, Phil, because it wasn't a training team that came up, but take you back to 1987. Celtic won, Arsenal 5.
We did all right in that season, 87, 88.
I do believe. The double there, the centenary double, but I know it was a bit different because friendlies were a bit different back then. That was the showpiece game, probably on the Saturday before the first game of the season. The following Saturday, I going to guess. I can't be telling live. I can remember, but yeah, we got dumped 5-1, and we thought, Jesus Christ, this is going to be a long old season. But I'm a bit like you. I mean, I didn't even pay that much attention to what was going on because I was in Johannesburg by the time we were playing the game on Saturday, and I was just only really getting the score updates on the live score coming up on my phone. Like, it wasn't like I was trawling the internet trying to find anything and find any information about it. And to be honest with you, I don't think I could even tell you who scored our goals, to be fair.
Yeah, it was but honestly, with the face, there's David saying, totally agree. However, wins against Man City and Chelsea. Yes, the freshly minted World Club Champions Chelsea took a doing off us this time last year. We beat them 4-1. We also beat Man City 4-3. I remember it very well. But yeah, David is right. It does generate a feel-good factor and build a bit of momentum. Because remember when Nicholas Kuhn obviously was unbelievable last summer in pre-season, and then he kept that going into the season till about, I don't know, January, February, then just decided that was it. That was all you were getting out of him. But yeah, there is pros and cons to it. But yeah, ultimately, I'm not too bothered about the results and whatnot. But one thing I'm bothered about right now, Johnny, is we're a little bit slow in the old progress. Remember a couple of weeks ago, Johnny, the last time you were on, I made a prediction. I tried to be my best Regan Stevenson impression and do an oracle type moment where I was like, here's what I think is going to happen with Balikwisha. We will sign him, but it will go on to the very, very last week of the window. He's going to be an Adamida type of transfer. It's just going to go on, and eventually it will get done. And then a story came out that, we're apparently close. We're edging closer. We're monitoring the situation. And I thought, okay, well, looks like he is going to sign. Maybe it's not going to be the last week of the window. But no, here we are, another week on from that story. And it still seems like, Michel Ange Balikwisha, where art thou? It's like we're still waiting. There's a bit of comment that's came out as well from, and I didn't know this, apparently Mark Overmars is like the sporting director of Standard Liège, and he's talked about bids that have been coming in from non-serious teams. I don't know if he's referring to us because he didn't name any teams, but of course, many fans with a bit of a cynical mind might put 2 and 2 together on that one and think it's us. But it's just, again, just Celtic. Just if we've identified this guy and his names came up multiple times in the last couple of transfer windows, and it seems like we've got the green light to try and go and get him. Again, what is the hold-up? If we're having last-minute concerns about his injury record, again, has due diligence not been done? Were you not aware that he had injury problems when you were scouting him in the last window and the window before that? Is he now the new Vistgarden? Because that was one that obviously dragged on. Is now going to Balikwisha going to be that as well, Johnny? So yeah, the ballad of Balikwisha continues.
Yeah, but I think it's a bit of a strange one. It's like you said that his injury record is not great. I've never heard of the guy. Like I said earlier on, if he walked through my front door, I'd have to ask him who he was. You might be right with your prediction that we're going to sign him. As things stand at the minute, I'm neither up nor down whether we do or not, purely because I know nothing about the guy. As it's becoming the modern way, like most of the players that we have linked with, and I use that term loosely, I've never heard of them. You've really got to read up on them about them, and then when you start reading his record, his injury record is not great, is it?
No, I mean Patrick McLaughlin said that he's missed 64 games in 4 seasons, so it's like, So
That's
again,
a lot.
that's going back 4 seasons, but he's been on our radar for the last 2 windows. So again, Celtic, if there's not something going off in your head, Celtic, when you're looking at this, it's like, the last 3 seasons have been a bit checkered injuries, but it's weird how we can go from he's a top target now to kind of humming and hawing on it.
Yeah, but was he ever the top target? This is what this is what we don't know. We can only go by what we read online and in the papers and whatnot. But if he's missed 64 games in 4 seasons, and I don't know how many games they play in a season in Belgium. They got I don't know how many teams are in the league.
I mean, you could include European games as well, but like Standard Liège are a team that are usually in around the Europa League, the Conference League. They're usually a team that are always at that level, so they'll have some European fixtures as well. But you're looking on average then 16 games, competitive games in 4 years, every 16 each time on average. So yeah, I mean, that is, if you were talking about a league season, we play 38 games, 16, so you're coming up to just about half of that. So it's not ideal in that sense.
It is a lot, but then to be fair, I don't know how many games Tierney's missed in the last 4 years either.
Yeah, true.
So to be fair on that front, but just when you first read that stat, 64 games in 4 seasons, that seems like a lot. Then the next question we ask is why? Is it the same recurring injury, or is he just unlucky with injuries? So, and has it been 20 in one season and 5 in the following season and whatnot? So you've got to look a bit more behind those numbers, I suppose. But at first reading, you think to yourself, you draw back a little bit and think, well, what's going on here? But, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's Celtic or any other club. If you've got a valuation of a player, I mean, we're being accused of, by the Overmars apparently of low ball. But if you've got a valuation of a player, it doesn't matter who it is, whether it be a player at 5 million or 50 million. If you reckon he's worth an amount and the other team say no, move on to your next target because you must have them. At least you better have them.
Again, time is of the essence. That's it. If Balikwisha's a no-go, then surely they've identified others. We did hear about there's a Norwegian boy a few weeks ago. That one seems to have gone quiet as well. But yeah, you'd like to think that, look, if this isn't going to happen, you move on. Something we have to get, we have to be going here because Nicholas Kuhn's left. So regardless of how he finished last season, the last sort of 4 months of the season and when he was kind of below par, as it stands right now, we've got guys in Maeda, who'll be fine. But then you're looking at who's going to start on the other side. Is it going to be Yang? Is it going to be James Forrest? Is it going to be a wild Lewis Palmer is going to appear when we start the league season? Because we play St Mirren and then we've got Aberdeen at Pittodrie the week after that. And that's going to be a feisty fixture, that one, to say the least, given what happened in the cup final. And it's like Pittodrie's never really a great place for us to go. I know we can go up there like we did last season and absolutely do them. But the other game that we played against them last season up to, we only won it 1-0. Well, late goal with Hitati. It was a bit of a slog. And it's like, they can be a tricky team on their own patch, Aberdeen. That's going to be a difficult game. And then, of course, we've got Rangers coming up at the end of the month as well. The 4th game of the season. And, of course, 2 Champions League qualifiers. And it's like right now, our wingers, the situation. So we're going to have Yang, who might, we're talking about Yang maybe going to Norwich, Tillio. There's a name as well, Tillio, who did play at the weekend in the friendly. Apparently, it's already linked to a move back to Australia. So he might be gone already. So it's like, well, surely, God, we must be looking to enforce the wingers. Obviously, Nygren, we've told that he can play out wide, but there's also other positions he can play. But again, it's like we've literally then got Maeda and probably Nygren, and then it's like, well, if an injury happens to either of the two, and you're looking at James Forrest having to start, and we all love James Forrest, no doubt about it, but hey, time is not on his side right now. I mean, he's 34 years old. Last season, he did finally get his goal, but it was a laborious wait for it to happen. We were all willing it to happen, but he's definitely showed his age, the length of time it was taking him to get that goal. So you don't want to be in a position where we're relying on James Forrest pretty much off the bat. So again, if you've identified Balikwisha, his names came up twice now in 2 different windows, then what is the hold up? But a few people in the chat are saying they reckon that Celtic have pulled out of it. And if that's the case, as you say, Johnny, move on move on to the next one. But
looks like he's going to join the list of players that have been linked with Celtic over the years, over a number of seasons that we don't sign. And that Viscarton one, I've not been on the pod since he signed for Norwich, but I think we had a discussion about it in our WhatsApp group. That was a strange one. That
very strange.
If there was this secret clause, when agents are starting to try and move players on, they don't keep things like that secret.
Yeah, I mean, the tweet that Anthony Joseph put out, it was a very arsey tweet, very embarrassing for all the clubs involved. I thought it was a bit unnecessary because, to me, I don't think it all adds up. I mean, I'm not a bold apologist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm quite annoyed at a lot of their antics as well, but I don't think he was right to kind of have a dig there. It was really embarrassing for Celtic. I don't think the whole story adds up because you're right. Agents want their players to get a move, makes them money, makes all the sense in the world. So the fact that they didn't disclose that, it just says to me that the player was never interested in moving to Celtic in the first place.
I don't think he was. When all that came out, I think it was just a case. But if that was the case, then he would have surely, Celtic should have found out a long time ago and again moved on.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're still looking for a striker, and so Yamada looks like he's coming in. So we're waiting that one. But another position everyone obviously is looking at as well and is wondering what's going on is the left back situation, because obviously KT is here, brilliant, much to the joy of the wise man of the bus, the beard of knowledge, Canada's favourite Tim. Greg Taylor has departed the building. Sound the klaxon, everybody. Yes, Greg Taylor has finally gone, so the era of Greg Taylor is over. So we need another left back, because Kieran Tierney, is he going to manage to play 50-something games this season? I mean, I hope he does. We all hope he does. We hope that this the injury problems is just a myth and he actually pulls through, because he was available for Arsenal from October last season, but Mikel Arteta didn't opt to use him until we decided to show up in the January window and decide that we wanted him, and then suddenly, oh no, I need to keep Kieran Tierney. I need to use Kieran Tierney all of a sudden. But anyway, we obviously need to do back up. Now, of course, we've been speculating about, well, what's the plan here that I've put out there? Is Liam Scales going to be the backup left back, because we've got Inamura's came in, left side of centre back. We've still got Austin Trusty, we've still got Liam Scales. A couple of games last season, Liam Scales did get moved to left back. He came off the bench and played there. So I'm like, is that the plan? Then we have the Inamura transfer happens. We're strictly told, Johnny, Inamura is a centre back only. He is not a left back. We play Cork City. Brendan Rodgers plays him at left back. After Brendan Rodgers comments about he's not first team ready, he'll probably go out on loan. Then after the game is like, oh, I was pleasantly surprised. He was easily, I mean, the Cork City game, me and my dad, when we were watching it, the two of us were genuinely like, he's been by far and away the standout player. Like, when he was on the ball, it was genuinely quite intriguing. You kind of wanted them to keep giving him the ball because he was making things happen. He was getting forward. He was at times talking Austin Trusty through the game. There was no genuinely at times he was doing that. So then you're like, okay, is Inamura going to be the backup to Tierney? But it now seems that a name has surfaced. And much like Balikwisha, who's based in Belgium, we're going back to Belgium because this one has come up in the last 24 hours. Anthony Joseph tweeting it. Celtic are we're exploring the conditions. Of course we are. We're monitoring. We're keeping tabs on. We're exploring the conditions of a deal for Cercle Brugge left back Nazinho. I believe it's Flávio Nazinho, his name is. Just the name alone, Nazinho. I'm like, this guy's got to be a baller. A name like that, Nazinho, how can he be bad? It's understood the club are yet to make an official offer, of course, but they are keen to bring the Portugal under-21 international to Glasgow. Celtic FC took a closer look at him during the under-21 Euros. So I think the fee that they're talking about, it was floating about, it would be about 3 million or so euros. It kind of fits the profile, I would think, of what we're looking for in this case. Again, I don't think the two of us can sit here and say that we're experts on this boy, but again, when you look at the profile, I say, young player can probably learn under Kieran Tierney. It's going to cost a few million. Plays in Europe and already plays for Portugal's under-21s, and Portugal are definitely one of the strongest national teams, and their young generation are coming through. Look like they're producing a lot of top talent. Look at the boy João Neves at PSG, or Vitinha, who are at PSG as well. No, they're still relatively young, but they're now playing for the full Portuguese national team. So Portugal is definitely a good place to look. We've obviously brought in Jota in recent years, Paulo Bernardo. It's not a bad place to look, but yeah, that one excites me. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about the boy, But the profile instantly, I'm like, okay, this is more exciting than a £250,000 random punt on a Japanese boy who was playing for the second worst team in Japan. This one excites me a wee bit more, Johnny.
Yeah, I've got a few questions to ask about this guy because all I've really seen is that clip that you put up there. I've not seen much more than that or anything I've read. But how much first team football is he playing? Because
he's been playing for Cercle Brugge regular.
Yeah.
The only reason I know about them is they played Kilmarnock this time last year in like a Europa League qualifier or a Conference League qualifier. They definitely played Killie in a European game, but he's been a regular in their team basically this past season, playing 20 plus so games. So he isn't like, you know, the second, third choice left back who's only played a handful of games. He is actually in the first team.
And if I'm being honest, I think there's the problem, because I think to buy, I mean, obviously we want more than one player for every position, but I think the position we've got at Celtic at the minute, with Tierney coming back to play as the main man at left back, is bringing somebody in as cover for him, because especially if it's somebody who's used to playing regular first team football. I mean, we talk about you said there, gain experience and learn and whatever from Tierney. But where's he going to learn more and develop more? Playing regular first team football in a reasonably, you know, in a league that's of at least a standard of Scotland, they're probably better, to be in all brutal honesty, or as a backup to Kieran Tierney at Celtic and getting a game maybe, you know, when we think, well, you know, we're playing, well, Ross County, whoever at Celtic Park, we can manage this one without Tierney. We'll play this guy, whatever his name is. I can't remember what you said his name was.
Nazinho.
Nazinho, yeah. I think that's a difficult position. That's a difficult position for us to fill if you're buying somebody who's experienced or who is playing regular first team football, you know, week in, week out, to then ask them to come and play second fiddle. And also, you know, Celtic going to spend €3 million for somebody to be in that position when they would probably, actually, if the truth be told, would much rather the £250,000 Japanese player from wherever as a backup. I mean, I know we went £4 million or whatever for
Bernabei.
Bernabei, but he wasn't brought in as a backup. He was actually brought in with the possibility of him becoming Greg Taylor's replacement, and that went well. So I think it's a difficult position for us to try and fill with an experienced player, or somebody who's playing regular first team football. Because I think if I looked at it, bear in mind, you take away the fact that the players that people were looking at, they haven't got any Celtic affiliations like us. I might do it at the age of 22 just to get my foot in the door at Celtic. Somebody who's got no love or real interest as things stand in Celtic football clubs, gonna maybe give up playing first team football nearly every other week to be an understudy. I think it's difficult. So if he does come, that'll be great. If he's good enough, that'll be great. But we'll just have to wait and see on that one. But it'll probably be another one of these ones that
we'll keep monitoring it. Yeah, we'll consider it. Aye, never. We'll edge closer, and it'll be like a tortoise moving really slowly. Yeah, that'll be us edging closer.
We'll explore it for the next 3 or 4 seasons. Transfer windows, Phil.
Aye, his name will come up in the next few.
And then he'll go to Norwich.
Aye, exactly. A secret clause of some kind. Aye, that'll definitely happen. I mean, it's all going to come down to what the manager thinks and what the player himself, Kieran Tierney, thinks he'll be able to do. I don't think Kieran Tierney will play on the plastic pitches. I think he'll avoid Falkirk away, Livingston away, and Kilmarnock away. I think that'll be a bit of a risk. But again, I say it'll be down to the player. If the player feels that he can play, and if Brendan feels that he's able to, I say I would love that Kieran Tierney could play 50-something games this season. That would be unbelievable if he did it and proves everybody wrong. But again, until you see it happen, you just don't know. So I think Celtic have to cover their bases there. Inamura, I say, it was a very encouraging start against Cork City, but we can't read too much into it. It was because I think the bar was that low for Inamura, because all of us were all just like, what is this signing? Even to the point where the manager was just kind of like, what am I meant to do with this guy? Even he was left pleasantly surprised. So I guess that was part of it. we'll wait and see regarding that one. But we did have another link as well through the week about Malacia, the Man United left back, and again, similar fee, 3 million. But again, is they're going to want to come up here and are they guaranteed to play lots of games? Could Kieran Tierney slot in at centre back in a game and the other player plays left back? These are all things that we'll need to wait and see. But we'll move on from transfers. Before we finish, we'll have a wee quick chat. I know one thing that you love, Mr. Lowe, to talk about is kits. And I know you're very much, we talked about Lisbon earlier on, you're very much like every kit should just be like the 1967 Lisbon kit, and that's it. No sponsors, no anything else. But sadly, we're in a day and age where they just want to stick sponsors and stickers and everything all over their shirts nowadays. But the new away shirt did launch officially today, black with neon green, but depending on what light you look at it in, sometimes it's neon yellow, because I saw Ryan 118 earlier literally went on the website on his video and brought up the pictures from the Celtic Superstore website, and it's clearly black with neon yellow, but on the video it's black and it looks like it's neon green or a sort of darker neon green. But anyway, yeah, it seems to be whatever lighting tricks they're using or deceptively fooling people. But the advert itself, Henrik Larsson was in it. John Collins made an appearance, Charlie Mulgrew, a few of the first team players were there, Callum McGregor, Alistair Johnson, Luke McCown, and Primal Scream's Bobby Gillespie was in it as well. They filmed it in McCool's in the city centre. But yeah, it was very similar to an advert this time last year. And I spoke to Liam on an episode of the Friday Feeling at the time, this last summer. Adidas were doing all sorts of good adverts for like their elite teams down in England. Aston Villa got an advert with members of Black Sabbath in it. Ozzy Osbourne and Geezer Butler were in it, and all the Aston Villa players. And then Newcastle had one as well, where it was like the fans going away to an away game. They're on a train. You've got like David Ginola was on it, Rob Lee, Shay Given, Steve Howie again, and Nobby Solano, all these legends. And I'm like, what? Celtic have got enough surely about them and the culture and legends and whatnot to justify us getting an advert like that to launch one of our kits. But yeah, they did it this year, and they pretty much copied the same format as the Newcastle one. Fans going to an away game because it's an away kit. But I love the advert, and to be fair, I actually quite like the kit now that I've seen it sort of like unveiled. I've always said I like kits that are black. The one you're wearing, Johnny, is fantastic. It's black, it's simple, dead sleek. But I actually quite like the new one with the neon on it and whatnot. So Johnny, what's your opinions on looking at the kit as somebody who's very passionate about how you feel Celtic kit should look? What did you think of this one?
I think I might shock you here.
Okay.
I actually quite like this one.
Okay.
If you've got to have a second strip, which you obviously do, for the rare occasions that we have a genuine colour clash, I don't think, for example, Celtic against Hibs is a colour clash. They may have the same colours, but there's enough of a distinction that, there's a. I mean, I'm pretty sure Celtic and Hibs played hundreds of games wearing their first team kits over the years, and it was never a problem. But yeah, I actually quite like this one. The couple of bits I said to you before we came on live was a couple of things I don't really like. I could do without that piping down here, and I think the neck looks a bit.
Yeah.
Just a bit wide. I prefer the round neck like this. But otherwise, I think it's all right. It's certainly a lot better than some of the other efforts I've seen put out this season.
The one that came out a couple of weeks ago, the
one that came out a couple of weeks ago. But they're for me, they're not football strips. They're leisure wear. If it was a t-shirt hanging up in Primark, then you think, oh, that's all right. I'll buy that. That'll look all right on the beach. But that's all they are. They're not football. They're not football strips, and they're certainly not Celtic ones. But apart from the fact they've got a Celtic crest on the front of them, but they will undoubtedly sell. But they won't sell because I think they'll sell for fashion and leisure wear rather than. We'll never see. I don't think we'll ever see Celtic playing it.
Oh, I think we'll the third one. That's a good. I think you're right, because Hibs were going to wear the black one most likely, and then what other teams in the league? Because what other teams wear predominantly? Even Kilmarnock this year, their kit is usually like obviously white and blue stripes, and we usually wear our away kit down at Killie. But I think theirs this year is like predominantly blue with very thin white stripes. So there's a good chance we don't even wear the away kit at Kilmarnock. It'll just be, sometimes you do get games where there isn't even a colour clash and they do wear the away kit, and it's usually dictated by the provider themselves, because again, they want to make sure that the kit gets seen more, so it actually, you know, can sell, can obviously put it out there. I did find it hilarious though, how they obviously got Henrik in it, which is fantastic. The kit is clearly based off of, it's like a throwback to the 98-99 kit, the black with the green pinstripes with Umbro as a sponsor. And of course, as many fans will tell you, every time you look at that kit, you just see Henrik Larsson breaking his leg. That is there's nothing but bad things attached to that kit. It's a fantastic one. So again, I love black kits. I think they're very, very sleek. It's one of my favourite away kits that we've had over the years. But every time I look at that kit, I just see disaster. We get beat by Airdrie in a League Cup game wearing it. And the moment that always comes to my mind when I see it is not the Henrik Larsson leg break. It's Reggie Blinker scoring an absolutely ridiculous own goal up at Pittodrie, and we get beat 3-2 by Aberdeen, where a cross came in and Jonathan Gould came to collect it, and Blinker went to just head it back to him. And Jonathan Gould had came so far off his line, he headed it over him, and it just went into the net. We ended up losing 3-2. And we were wearing that kit that night. So every time I look at that black kit from 1998, I just see Reggie Blinker looking absolutely hapless as he puts the ball in the net. Yeah, nothing but bad memories with it. So I found it quite interesting that they were like, okay, we'll get Henrik in. Henrik, we need you to come and like model this new kit. We've took inspiration from a previous kit that you wore. Oh, which one is it? The one you broke your leg in. I'm sure Henrik was chuffed with that one. But it was good to see him in the advert as well. He's looking good in that one, playing a bit of pool. The thing is, I didn't even make the connection last night when they put the promo up and it was a number 7. Pool ball, because obviously the black ball and pool's usually number 8. It was a number 7, but I thought it was going to be about Jota, because Jota was obviously leaked modelling it when it came out months ago, so I thought it was going to feature, it was going to be about him. I didn't even think it would be Henrik Larsson, but I was pleasant surprised to see him.
Yeah, the advert. I had a quick look at the advert today, like, you know, and yeah. So I would not be influenced one way or the other about an advert, whether I bought or didn't buy it. If I'm being brutally honest with you, I'd buy it if I thought it was nice, and I'm not a big top buyer anyway. Like, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. See, they're expensive.
I think I've got 2 now. No, I've got 3 in the house at the minute. I only bought one of them, and David got me the other 2.
That's all you need, really. That is all you need at times. You know, I became a pure like kit collector these days because I'm obsessed with going back and getting all sorts of old ones now. Because somewhere along the line, somebody decided that classic football kits are like the thing to have. When I was younger, as soon as it got to the end of the season and you had that season's kit, if you were seen in last season's kit, Jesus Christ, the abuse you used to get at school. You know, it's like, oh, I can't be seen wearing last season's kit. But nowadays, if you're walking about like a 1993 Celtic kit and somebody sees you, like, oh, you know, bit of a hipster, you know, I think you're a bit of cred there, wearing an old school kit. So just the way that it's gone now. But no, the one you're wearing right now is an all-time.
Oh, I do love this one. Yeah.
That is timeless. But I say classic football
again,
kits
it's, you know, they haven't messed about with it. You know, they haven't tried to jazz it up. It's just black. You do with the tenants on it, to be fair.
Yeah.
That would make it better. But it's just a black. And the back's brilliant.
But the tricolor, yeah, that's right. Yeah. See, when I look at that shot, do you know what I see there? I actually see Neil Lennon in the tracksuit that went with it, with the skinhead, because that was the season that he went with a skinhead all season, and he had the collar turned up, and it had the tricolor, and just like he looked like a fucking mental bastard. Honestly, at times when he was confronting referees, it's like, I wouldn't mess with Neil Lennon. And that's the season we beat Barcelona. And of course, there's the image at the end of the game where he walks up to Fraser Foster and just grabs him. Like, he's obviously happy, but he grabs him so aggressively because he's like, I fucking love you, big man, you know? And he's got the collar turned up and the skinhead. And it's just like, oh man, I love that. That's my favourite version of Neil Lennon ever, is that season with that tracksuit on that goes with that away kit. So he looks like an absolute madman with it. But yeah, it was a great kit. I love the wee tricolour feature that it had. But yeah, I mean, that's us covered. So that's us done over an hour, Johnny. So I think we'll make tracks because it is after 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. So yeah, we'll need to get going, guys. But yeah, tonight is a wee impromptu version of Tic Talking. As I said before, when we launched the new channel at the start of the season, Tic Talking isn't connected to any particular day. I know the only 2 episodes we've done so far have been on a Tuesday, but again, it's just if there's something to talk about, I felt, you know what, let's jump on, let's have a wee natter about some stuff that's doing the rounds. And now I will be back on Friday, of course, on the Friday feeling to do an episode, of course, with Liam. And if anybody else from the team wants to jump on Friday evening, they are more than welcome to. I've spoke to Connor as well. He's actually in Germany. That's why we didn't get a Carmageddon episode recorded. But I says, Connor, do you fancy doing a wee 20-minute Carmageddon rant at some point in the next few days? So hopefully we'll get that recorded. I'm sure Connor has got some interesting things to say about the current situation with transfers. Get your swear jars at the ready. I'm sure that'll be a fantastic one. But yeah, that should go online soon. And yeah, Johnny, again, as I said, also thanks for jumping on, mate. It was very sort of late in the day that I decided to do this. I appreciate you making the venture, and after your long travel as well. So it's much appreciated. It's also much appreciated everyone in the chat who's watched. We've hit about, I think we had 80 plus watching live at one point. So make sure you hit the old like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you do that as well, because we're trying to grow this channel. We're looking to maybe hit 500 subscribers by the time the season starts. We're not too far off 400 right now. So can we get to 500 before the season starts? Either way, if we don't, we appreciate everyone that has subscribed up to now. But yeah, Johnny, enjoyed your night?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it was a bit unexpected. I wasn't expecting to be jumping on here tonight until you sent me the text message. So yeah, really enjoyed it. It's been good. And when you consider it's been quite quiet, really, yeah, managed to cover a bit of ground, like, so yeah.
We always flies in, even though I keep thinking pre-season, Celtics will gain much to talk about. Every show we do just flies in now, so it's like, yeah, that's an hour and 6 minutes. But yeah, we will head off, folks. I say, remind you again, just hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it massively. And yeah, I will see you on Friday night, 9 o'clock. That Friday feeling, as always. We'll catch you then. And thanks for watching. See you later, guys.
Cheers.